right, well, between 9 o'clock, we'll bring the Facilities and Property Management Committee to order. First agenda item is approval of minutes of the May 11, 2022 Facility and Property Management Committee.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for May 11th, 2022 Facilities Management Committee.
I'll second that.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Correspondence shared by committee members.
The only thing I think is that Bill Wingren, which you two might not have known, but was on this committee for years. He passed away here this last year, and the previous chairman, his wife has just passed away. So,
really?
yeah. So Bob Keller's.
How many years was Bill on the committee for?
20 years,
On this committee?
I believe so. Yeah.
Wow.
And for my time, don't ask me.
All right, moving on, public input on agenda items. Anybody from the public wishes to speak on, I don't know, is that a?
Hands not up.
No? All right, I'll ask one more time. Anybody from the public want to speak? All right. Moving on. Item 4, discussion and approval of capital project and budget transfer request of $3 million to construct T hangars at the Whitman Regional Airport. Total project cost of $4.3 million. A grant in the amount of $1.3 million would be from the Wisconsin Bureau of Aeronautics to construct.
Jim's not here, so I'll introduce it. This is a project that they have brought forward before the Aviation Committee. It went before the P&F Committee last week, and they're bringing it forward before this committee for consideration and approval. This is to build, I believe, 2 buildings, 20 T hangars total, on an area that is semi-improved. There's some concrete out there now, and I think there's kind of a taxiway spur there. But this would be to increase the availability of hangars to rent to aviation individuals in the area. And I believe they have a waiting list of 50 plus individuals for hangars. So, you know, I think that these would be filled as soon as we get them built. And Jim has put together a memo to explain everything. I've attached his documentation to it. And he put in a cash flow analysis to show that there will eventually be a positive net return to the county. And that's about as much as I know about this project. We've got Jason, his operations manager, here. If you would have maybe some questions that I can't answer.
So I don't know how familiar everyone is on the project. I've got some key points here I'd like to hit on. First of all, I'm Jason Stuger. I'm the maintenance and operations manager at the airport. Jim and Cameron both are out of town. They're in Seattle this week for a conference. So what we're proposing is we have an area that we call the East T hangar area, and it has 5 hangars currently that have reached the end of their life. The pavement is a mix of old asphalt and old foundations that needs to get replaced as well. So that site is looking at a total, like raising those 5 hangars and then redoing the civil work that's involved there, building 2 steel constructed T hangars with bifold doors, concrete floors, and then 2 adjacent taxiways that will come off to get those planes from those T hangars out to the adjoining taxiways and then out to the runways. So there'll be a total of 20 hangars replacing those 5, and they'll also have some 6 shovel ready sites that will be prepared if an individual wants to come on to the airport with a land lease and then build their own private hangar. And like was said, the total project is 4.3 million. So if you have any questions, I can try to answer them to the best of my ability, or I can get with Jim and Cameron via phone, and then I can get you an answer by the end of the day.
I have a question. So then, the ones that build the private hangars, so how do you handle that? Do you charge them rent for that, or?
They would be charged a land lease, and then they would have to provide funds and then build their own hangar on site.
And so they would have to maintain it also?
Yes, yes.
Now, the hangars that we are building, or that you would be building, not me, particularly. So you would be maintaining them then?
That's correct, yep.
I think this is a big project.
Mr. Chair, I got some questions. So the total cost projection was 4.3 million roughly, and with the county investment of 3 million and 1.3 in the state and federal grant, that's what's currently projected?
Yes.
Okay. And on the buildings, I recently took a tour of that area with Rachel Dowling and Jim Shell,
Mhm.
and got a look at it. And there is a large site area that needs to be torn up and rebuilt there.
Right.
And you have some demolition costs with the buildings that are out there.
Mhm.
Jim mentioned $1 million per building, really roughly, as the construction cost for the building improvements.
There are some estimates. I'd rather have Jim speak on
Okay.
what the estimates are, just due to the fact that it hasn't gone out to bid, and I don't want to throw
Right.
any prices out there.
Okay.
With this being a public
Understood.
meeting,
So you want me to end discussion on current what he said there, or could I continue?
Oh, no, you can.
Okay.
continue.
So, that'd be about, if the building is roughly a little over 11,000 feet, 11,340 is what I calculated, but I think it might be a little bit different than that, but it's close. That'd be $88 a foot for the building improvements. And then on total cost divided by the two building square footages, you'd have 189 a foot, or 189.59 a foot for the two buildings.
Are you
No,
talking?
that's on total cost.
Okay,
Okay, that's including the site. Yep, at 4.3 million divided by, let's say, 22,680, 189.59 a foot. And 4.3 million divided by 20 units, 215,000 a unit. Is that about right? Roughly. That's where we're at. And then the rent projection was $325 a month. Times 20 units, times 12 would be about $78,000 a year initially.
correct.
And so, and then there was some repair and maintenance costs, right? And you group the cash flows in 3-year increments, so you kind of have to take that number and divide it by 3.
Mhm.
But I showed if you're gonna net out the repair and maintenance costs, would be about 75,803 for rent, net rent. Let's just assume that's net rent. We don't know. And then if you divide that into the investment of 4.3 million, you're, I don't know, 1.75 or something like that % on initial rent, return on investment, right? Or the overall return. Rate of return initially. And what I'm told, is that this is a public investment. There's other considerations than just maximizing rent and project yield, that there's a public benefit to it. And as long as the public entity is breaking even, and can bond it, that's our objective. And so, my mentality is more as an appraiser, looking at things from a private investment standpoint. And I think in the meeting when Jim came in and explained all of that, I looked at that cash flow projection, and over 33 years with 3-year group cash flows and ran it on 10 years, assuming that was a 10-year projection, which it wasn't.
Right.
So I overstated my numbers in the meeting, but this is a pretty low return, but I looked up some other airport projects, and these hangar projects do typically have low returns from what I can see. And the rent comps that they use are from the Department of Transportation from other airports.
Correct.
The question is, how old are those hangars compared to our new project here? And, does that justify for a new project being at the higher end of the rental range? Not necessarily because of location, Milwaukee or Kenosha, where it seems the higher rents are, or Madison, but Oshkosh is a major regional airport in the state too, but I don't know that we should necessarily try to maximize rents. I guess that's maybe not so important as to make sure that we're covering, that the rents are sufficient to break even and justify, when capitalized, to justify the investment. So the only thing I wanted to do is introduce a friendly amendment to the resolution that we haven't really talked about yet. Should I wait to do that, or?
I'm not,
The resolution's got to be brought in first before you can amend. it.
Okay, I'll wait.
and that, would that be here or would that be at the county board?
You can do it either one, because they can bring it in from here too. But the county board, you can also do it on.
Okay, well, that's pretty much, what I wanted to say is that I initially was, looking at this from a private investment standpoint and saying, well, no, we got to get higher rents. But we really don't know where the rents need to be yet until we know what our costs are going to be. And that's what that amendment will deal with. It's just, waiting until we really know where we are.
So that does make sense.
Yeah.
You think about it, so if you're gonna put that cost, because actually you aren't gonna know until the final end on how much this whole project's really gonna cost.
So is that what you're saying? Wait until the bids are finalized?
What I'm saying is
and
waiting,
then
wait till the
adjust
bids are finalized. We know what the final project costs are gonna be, what the investment capital requirements are gonna be for both the county and the state and fed. If there's a grant, what's it gonna be, how much, and then, once we know all that, we can better determine what the initial asking rent should be for the hangar units. That's my view.
They, initially when Jim presented this, I think he was thinking $300, and then it went up to $325 at PNF.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I did spend some time with Jim a few weeks ago, and had a lot of concerns over some of the things that were said on the county board, and I guess understanding a little bit bigger picture about different general aviation airports. The comments were made about the type of planes that were in there. I guess they got a broader scope of what actually goes on. There's not Lear jets filling up all these hangars out there. They're older Piper Cubs and that kind of stuff. So that was a good eye-opening experience. And then also that, I don't think he shared this at the county board meeting, but he talked about it. Well, here are the numbers we researched from Kenosha, Racine, whatever, all the different airports about what they're paying for rents for the hangar. So it wasn't out of the ordinary about what we were, what we were paying.
If I might just augment that, on the Wisconsin Department of Transportation website, under the aeronautics section, you can find a spreadsheet that shows all the competitive rents for the other airports in the state, and they're generally pretty low. I think they're all 400 or less per unit. And I don't know if that's because the hangars, a lot of them are older and they haven't built a lot of hangars, or it's just that it's like us, it's a public investment that's financing it, and therefore they're not trying to maximize rents as if it's a private investment. So it could be both, Anyway, that that information's out there. You can look at it online. And so, okay.
I think we gotta realize too that like the heat and all that, because everybody's all excited about the heat, that's all gonna be paid by who's ever renting these
Correct.
places. It's
Right.
not
That's
us.
right.
Correct.
And I thought that Jim had said, and maybe I misunderstood him, that they were responsible for anything that goes wrong with this hangar also, and I could be wrong.
In terms of maintenance.
Right.
Sure, yeah, after the warranty periods on any of the construction, that would be, yeah, it would be up to the county maintenance, the airport maintenance.
I thought he was talking about that the person that's renting it would be in charge of maintenance.
No, I don't believe that. was
Okay.
right.
I could have misunderstood him.
We'd have maintenance, but they would have to carry insurance, right? Liability insurance at least
For the contents.
for contents, okay. And you would carry insurance for the building,
Building, the county would, I believe.
yeah. So that may be, that's a cost. So,
No, the impervious surface, obviously this is gonna reduce some of the impervious surface out there. Can you talk about that, about how much we pay in fees to the city of Oshkosh for impervious surface a year and water runoff? That's another thing that really shocked me.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact figures of what we pay for stormwater runoff.
They pay several $100,000.
420 is what I remember, 420
Mhm,
a year.
mhm.
For this parcel.
No, that's for the whole.
For the whole
area.
But I think this
would
this
reduce it.
project is being built on top of impervious surface right now.
Yeah,
And they're looking at removing and reducing some of the impervious surface. So it would make a reduction, but it probably would not be felt real well in the annual cost.
So, my question is, reading over this, I've written it backwards and forwards, and trying to figure it out. And this is an investment that the county is making on behalf of the 170,000 people who live here. And my only question is the use of these 20 spots. This is going to benefit these 20 people, 20 businesses, whatever, partnerships, whatever it is. Are they all Winnebago County? Or are we taking people from Fond du Lac and, okay, here, we're gonna give you this and a brand new building and that. So I don't know if with FAA, if we could put something in the resolution about that it have to be Winnebago County residents for the first time or something like that. I don't know, but FAA may say, no, it's all or nothing. I think something like that's probably gonna be brought up at the general meeting on the 21st there, but that's my only question. I don't see anything in there about that. Somebody else has read that, but I have more of a feeling towards the 170,000 people than the 20 people or 20 corporations or whatever.
Will it generate new business investment in the airport, in the airport business park, that kind of thing, or is it just for recreational flyers, is what you're saying? Okay,
I'm all for it. I think it's a good project. Yeah, I think it's badly needed. It's a big gulp of money, and I would hate to have somebody say, yeah, Jim, you voted for this, and it's not even Winnebago County people in there, so.
True, but it is the pilot then would more than likely purchase fuel from the airport and things like that, which would generate income as well.
Right, and generally speaking, if you think about it, it's people that have the bucks, because, let's face it, the fuel and everything else and plane costs nowadays is pretty high. So, to me, yeah, it would be nice if they did live in Winnebago County, but if they didn't, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. Because once again, he is right, because they would have to purchase the fuel there and so forth, but you're right, I agree with you in that respect, because that's who we're representing, obviously, is Winnebago County. But all the corporations and everything else, they're right there, they're part of us, they're part of Oshkosh, so
Maybe.
well, I mean, they don't, the people that work there, a lot of them probably don't reside in Oshkosh or in Winnebago County. Because I know of people that come a long ways just to come to work at different airports.
I live in Green Lake County. So.
There you go.
And typically, you know, these are folks recreational,
Right,
you know,
right.
airplanes, and, you know,
Yeah.
that's what they're
Yeah.
gonna be.
So we're not sure. I mean, you know, because Fond du Lac is really close to us,
Oh, sure, yeah.
you know, so. I mean, it would benefit a Fond du Lac person to use our airport. They got a little tiny one over there in Fond du Lac, but who knows? I don't know. What is your answer to that? Do you know of the renters now, where they reside, or?
I'm just speculation, but yeah, I would highly doubt that all of them live in Winnebago County.
So Jason, the existing hangar units, are they 100% occupied?
The ones that will be.
No, right now, the ones that are there now,
Yes,
are they all occupied by planes?
for the most part, yes.
Okay, maybe some of them are
It
in a
all
condition where
depends.
they, you know, some of them, I was out there and I saw that the roof is leaking
Yeah.
and some of these units are in tough shape out there, especially near this area where they're gonna rebuild the new ones. So maybe some of those units aren't suitable anymore for even storing a plane. They're in such bad shape. I don't know.
Some of the tenants don't quite mind too much. It offers them a little bit lower rent in those hangars.
Okay,
So that's a bit of the offset for them, I think.
okay, if some of the units don't have planes, is it substantial number of them that don't, or is it
No,
just a few?
no.
Just a few?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not because, I mean, if they're renting it, they have a plane. It just may not be in there at the time. It could be that let's say they fly south for the summer
Yeah,
or for the winter or whatever, and then come back. And so we do have some occupants like
okay,
that.
yeah, that's fine. So, you have a 52 plane waiting list for these new units. Is that waiting list for mostly the tenants that are in the units now in Oshkosh or from outside?
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Those tenants are.
And would it be a fair assumption, I think Mike believes this, that partly one of the reasons why you want to build some new hangars is it's so you don't lose some tenants to other airports,
Yeah, that would be
or you don't lose the waiting
That would
list?
be a good assumption, because those people, I'm sure, an aircraft needs a place to be, so.
Do you think the waiting list is so high because the rents are low or because they really want to be in Oshkosh?
I think probably because of the location. Yeah.
Okay,
There's a lot of people that, you know, aircraft aviation synonymous with Oshkosh, and being able to be here, especially during the air venture, is
yeah,
pretty big.
Yeah.
Okay. Pretty big deal for them.
Other discussion.
I'm surprised DAA doesn't. go for it.
I think that might turn into a little bit of a subletting issue, since they lease from us. I'm not sure how the legality of that would be.
now, do we talk about the resolution as a part of this, or is it later in the agenda?
The approval of it.
The motion has to be brought to the floor first.
I'll make the motion to approve that.
All right, a motion's been made. Is there a second?
Is this where I would?
I'll second it.
Okay,
Then you
so I have a proposed friendly amendment to the resolution, which would be T-hanger monthly asking rents per unit shall not be affirmed until final project costs and investment capital requirements have been ascertained. So in other words, we're not going to fix ourselves at $325 a month until we know what the final costs are going to be in this, so that we wind up the rents being, you know, let's say it's 5.3 or 6.3 million instead of 4.3. You know, I don't think it would be, but you know, maybe it'll be less too. It might be less.
The only problem with that is that's not really part of this thing that we're asking about. There's nothing in here about the charge of the rental
Yeah,
units.
that's what I'm
So
saying.
All right.
That's what I was just gonna say.
You could,
This is just to approve the
yep. approve
transfer.
this,
of
right,
And then when it comes to the county board floor, then you could, you know,
then at that point, maybe it's better.
Yeah, if they
better to
discuss
have-
that,
There isn't a,
Okay,
there's nothing on here about that,
Right.
what we're charging for rent. What Winnebago County is charging.
but we are approving the transfer of funds to begin the project.
That's all
It
that's.
has to go, yeah, it has to go fit through this committee's last committee, then the final approval. will
Okay,
be at the county-
so I
be at the
guess-
board.
I guess my only concern is we don't get into a situation where, you know, like with the boat hangar, we're coming back,
Mhm.
okay, asking for more money because the costs exploded on it. And everybody's thinking they're gonna be there for 3.25, and it's gotta be 450 or something, you know, to
Well,
justify it.
to justify that, they waited too long on that hangar to get that approval on.
What else?
So I think that you're gonna have to go with this, and then if the costs go up, I guess the costs go up, but at that time, I don't think you're gonna, it's not gonna make a huge difference like it did, because we have to have a set goal to get this thing done now, not waiting until next year or the next meeting or next month. I mean,
Yeah.
we're procrastinating then, and then the cost does go up.
But you don't want rents to be so low that you're not at least breaking even on a
Well,
project.
yeah, but that will come when this gets through
Okay,
and they go out and get the bids. You're gonna be able to put that resolution in there.
okay, all right, that's fine.
That'll be part of the resolution.
Okay.
What do you think, Bill?
Don't lose it, it's a good one.
I'll keep it. I'll keep it in the
Keep
file.
that on file.
Or you can have it, I'll keep it, I'll make copies, whatever. I tried to send it by email, but I couldn't figure out how to attach it in iPad yet, so.
So is there anybody here that needs a question answered today that I didn't answer or that you'd like me to follow up on?
Anybody?
Good one.
I would like a breakdown of construction costs, if we can get that.
Okay,
I'd like to see that,
sure.
and a finalization of the plans is on the way, right?
I
You don't
guess-
have a-
Tell Jim he needs to provide an opinion of probable cost. And that should have a breakdown on what they came up with, how they developed the cost.
You don't have to remove the amendment wasn't actually made, so.
Right.
All right, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the construction of T hangars at the Whitman Regional Airport for a total project cost of 4.3 million. Say aye.
All right,
Opposed?
We should add on there, the grant should be on there though, so we're not giving the whole 4.3 million.
Yeah.
it's not on there?
Yeah.
Make sure that's read.
We're gonna approve this as written. Yeah, approve this as written. Okay. All right. Moving on. Update of 980 housing project.
Not much new to update there, other than we've gone through the Judiciary Committee. We've gone through your committee here. We've gone through Judiciary, and we've gone through PNF, and they've approved the concept and the initial funding request. And it will be going before the county board in 2 weeks, 20th. For the approval. And then we'll go out for the design work. And then at our meeting, you all had asked that it would be coming back to show you what our final design would be. And that's what I would intend on doing. We've got, it looks like a potential of 3 people coming out over the summer. The solid waste committee is kind of on board with using the property out there. It was explained to them that it is county property. It's held in the name of the county, so it can be used for county purposes. Hopefully, I won't get beat up too bad at the county board. This is a topic nobody really wants to be involved in, but it's something that we really need to do. And it's being dropped on us without very much warning for these people. And that's pretty much where we stand with that. It'll be coming before the county board, and hopefully I will have, or Mary Ann will have the support of you all to go forward with this project. If it doesn't go forward, personally, I don't know what we're gonna do. We have not been very successful in finding any place to put these people other than what we've come up with. So answer any questions.
I guess I would just reiterate what I ended the last meeting with was 2,000 a month per unit from the state. And, you know, I don't care what your expenses are in the administration of this, the guy ain't gonna be that substantial operating costs, right? To get the net income.
Operating costs, we have maybe with the trailer over the last 2 years spent maybe $1,000 or less.
A month
No, total.
total.
They pay utilities, they do the
Oh.
lawn mowing.
The state?
Yeah.
Well-
The tenant.
Well, okay, so why would you not want to get involved in, if you can manage the location where these are going to be? Your costs are what they've been defined as, and if you're capitalizing rent at a reasonable, using a reasonable overall rate, I mean, you're covering yourself.
Pretty much, you know, we're
So does-
talking $24,000 a year for the trailer, and, you know, about 7 years, we should have that whole project paid for.
Yeah, but I mean, you're gonna what, spend $1.3 million on this, is what your budget
Or
was?
less, hopefully.
And you get 144,000 a month in rent, right? I mean,
No.
a year? A year?
Depends on how many people we have in there.
Yeah,
it
right.
depends on how many folks are there.
Yeah.
Okay. But still. I mean, that's almost a guaranteed income stream.
Yes.
Low expenses, no, this is a no-brainer almost, because you're managing where you're placing these tenants right near the sheriff's office. If there's any problems, you don't have them scattered all over the county. I mean, I'm on board with that. I don't see issues.
Fortunate responsibility also to solid waste. I'm on that committee. So, we're heated meetings concerning this. Our hands are tied. We have to do it, or it's $1,000 a month per person. And so on. Understand that. Probably the biggest gripe about the whole thing is we didn't bring them in soon enough. We, the county, bring them in and say, I know this is county property, but they take care of it. They're responsible for both highway and solid waste. I can
And
speak for solid waste. They're not.
the department heads have been involved in the discussions. And we don't have a project until you all say that it's a project. So if the county,
This land that they have been renting out, leasing out for.
they haven't been leasing it. No. It's been laying idle for 24 years.
Okay. So anyway, we might have been able to do a better job on that.
I will say once again, the department heads were involved in discussions with this.
Will you try to sell the trailer then, or will that remain there, or in case you have a female one that comes in? Or?
Well, if you all approve the project, we'll go out for design. The idea is to put 6 units out there, so that we have capacity, because we don't know how many people we've got. We started out with 8. They trickled 1 out at a time, and now all of a sudden they've dropped 3 of them on us. We want to be able to have capacity that we can put people there without being up against the wall again. The idea has been right now that we would probably just leave the trailer there until we have the construction all done and see how everything all works out. If we can get some kind of feeling from the state, because that would still give us a place to put somebody, without having to expand anything. So to answer your question, right away, we wouldn't sell the trailer.
Right, I realize that, but I didn't know if that was the plans later on, moving that out of.
The
there.
idea would be if we have to expand, we'd sell the trailer and build some more of these.
And have you got the city's blessings on these yet?
Tentatively, yes. We've talked to them, we've made a presentation to them, they understand it. But there may have been elections, I think we might have had some changes on the city council and the planning board. So, we probably have to go back and revisit it with them, but they understand what the situation is. They have the same problem as all the politicians do in the community, where nobody wants them in their neighborhood. It's a good place. The land is zoned institutional, so we can use it for that purpose. Everybody so far that we've talked to and worked with thinks it's a better idea having them there than in the community.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Are you going with the attached design right now? Sorry.
We're trying to figure that out with the state. The state has come back and said, we don't want so many people under one roof. And we've asked them to define, what do you mean under one roof? My family had 4 people under one roof. We were in one residential unit. But it's like,
Yeah, that's true.
if we're having individual residential units, but they have a common roof, my definition of under one roof, that's not under one roof. You have a common roof, but you're isolated from everybody else. So we're trying to work through that.
I think as long as you have those firewalls. That
Yeah,
Don't allow them to punch through there. or
No,
cut
no,
through
no.
there, into different-
And realistically, the individual that we've got in the trailer has been, as far as I know, there's been no problems. I haven't seen him there at all, and I've been by there at random times. So,
Mr. Chairman, was that the trailer might be a good place. I don't know how they work, where there's one individual at 24/7. That might be a place that the state might want to rent from us for that person to do it. They might have multiple people
Well,
at 24/7.
I believe that trailer can't stay there. Is that not correct?
no, the trailer can stay there.
No, I mean,
Can't put new ones.
That's what I mean. They can't put any more.
We can put,
You can keep the trailer then?
we can keep the
along with-
trailer there. And we could put 2 people in there. The individual that they've got right now that needs a 24-hour care are saying now that it's a HIPAA violation because the other individual will know what's going on with the other individual's care. But that's not a problem that the county has to solve, because the county's got certain parameters that they have to follow to find a suitable residence, and that's so many feet from a church, recreation areas, all these things. That trailer meets it all. But the care is nothing that is in the state statute that we have to worry about. And that's why we're in court right now for the last year over this individual, arguing about where he's supposed to go. The individual basically needs a nursing home, but the nursing homes themselves, he would end up having to be in a nursing home all by himself in order to meet all the parameters.
Wow.
So, it's kind of a catch-22, what do you want us to do with this individual? Here we have a residence that meets the parameters by law, but doesn't meet his care requirements. Well, then, that's a different issue. That's not an issue that the county needs to address. It's an issue that the state needs to address. And that's why we're in the court, because there's a difference of opinion.
Do we know about where that person's gonna go now?
I don't know. I know later this month, we have another court date, the 27th.
27th.
There's a court date that we have to go to. And this will be the discussion again. And I don't know. I don't know where this individual is going to go. It's unfortunate that his health is deteriorating rather quickly over the year. But I don't know.
Somebody said that he's even going to go out of Winnebago County.
Possibly. The bad thing is I do know in discussions that I've been with that, our Lakeland Healthcare can't really address his needs and work with him yet because he's not back in the county. So he has to get back in the county before he can become a client of our healthcare system. So, it's like, this is just a real mess that is going to be a difficult one to resolve. And it's going to be a difficult one to resolve for the individual. I feel for him to a point, but it's really down to what the law says the county has to provide, and we have a site that meets those parameters.
Anybody else? Moving on. Mike, you want to give us an update on the historical marker installation?
We finally got the pedestals yesterday for it, and they wouldn't make the plaque or the display plate for it until we actually had the pedestals in hand so they could make sure that the mounting features of the plaque would meet the pedestals we've got. So we gave them the go ahead to make it yesterday. It'll be a couple of weeks before they get it all made, and then we'll be able to put it up. So, and that will be out of my hair.
Some of these guys might not even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh.
So just for context, I think it started in 2018.
Yeah,
I believe, going back to this historical marker for farm. And 4 years
Yeah.
ago and talking about this project, and so just a little context, and sometimes how slow things actually work.
Oh, my God.
well, and it's a little context of what the supply chain's doing to us.
Right.
I mean,
right. Well, right now,
it's-
slow.
This is just, like crazy that we can't get stuff. But yeah, about 2018, we were gonna tear down the old brown barn on Butler Avenue because it doesn't meet our needs. For $100,000 worth of work. And it was something that we didn't want, the county didn't want to spend money on. So the county decided to tear it down. The city historical society wanted to preserve it. We prevailed. They said, at least could we put a plaque up there showing, what Parkview used to be? Because we used to have the county farms there. This was part of the old county farm. We agreed to split the costs. As long as it didn't go over $5,000, we'd put $2,500 towards it. We started working with the Historical Society. They were going to come up with a design. I don't know if they've ever actually came forward to you guys with the final display
Yeah, I think
picture.
they did a picture, yeah.
And we've been moving forward with that. And I think it was probably about 6 months ago that we ordered the pedestals for it. And we finally got them yesterday.
Mhm.
And then once we get the plaque, we'll go ahead and put it out in the ground.
Update on staffing, Mike.
Well, we had some interviews scheduled for last week, Monday. One individual withdrew for personal reasons. One individual did not complete a county application, and the third individual did not show up. So we did not interview anybody last week. So we are still down. Well, we are now down 5 of our cleaning staff, 2 maintenance technicians, and 1 superintendent. And I have 2 individuals that I will probably be interviewing for the superintendent position. So we are looking at potentially 1 more retirement in August, September timeframe. And I don't know if anybody else has got plans that they haven't made public yet. So we are roughly 30% down from what our authorized staffing level is. My cleaning staff is being run ragged. They're probably cleaning the equivalent of about 60 to 70,000 square feet per day. So, you know, if you take a look at like an average home is between 1,000 and 1,500 square feet, they're cleaning about 50 homes a day. We're trying to clean 50 homes a day. So I do something better to do it. We found that our positions weren't on the state unemployment site. So one of my supervisors went and loaded all of our positions on the state unemployment site. I've put something out on my Facebook page, but I don't open it up to the public really. So I don't know how well that's going to do. I know some other people have put it on their Facebook pages trying to do it. We've got signs out front. Actually, we were the first department that put a sign out front. We're just spreading the word the best we can. We're not.
Why weren't these put out on them pages before?
I don't know.
Because I know
I
that question was brought up at P and F too, that there's something that's not being handled there, right? And come to find out, they're not even out in these pages.
That's outside my, I don't want to jump into that pool. It's just, you know, I found out Parks had more success in getting their seasonals because one of their supervisors spent days calling around, trying to encourage people, calling individuals, asking them if they would come to work. And my staff doesn't have that kind of time. You know, I need to put it out someplace where it can be advertised. We put out our maintenance technicians positions on the American Public Works Association's state site, and we got nothing. So, you know, I don't know what we can do to get people in here. You know, I would like to have the policy kind of modified that if they don't fill out an application, they come to the interview and here's the application. You know, you fill it out, you know, and then we'll talk to you. But I don't know. And I don't know, I don't personally know if just more money is going to get the people in. Us that is having problems getting people. It's my colleagues in other counties, it's private business. It's everywhere. So, you know, we're trying to work smarter.
Staffing places that.
Like Indeed, things like
Whatever
that.
it is, yeah, I don't know. what
We
they
try
are,
to
but-
get them out there. We go out there and we look, and if we don't see it, we'll tell HR. Get it out there. So that,
Getting out there from there.
yeah. We go back and we look.
Okay.
But I don't know how long they put them out there, because we'll go back and look and they're gone. You know, if they put a time limit on for a week or whatever. You know, we are getting some applications, but you know, a lot of the people don't have the kind of skills that we're looking for.
Right.
And you know, if I was more fully staffed, you know, I could take on somebody that didn't have any skills and we could work on trying to train them. But when you're trying to bring on people and you don't have people to do the basic, it's hard to have them also try to walk them through the jobs and get that done. So
I would think maybe seasonals now, maybe you could get the kids just coming out of school. What if they got to be 18?
we're going down to 16. I have one high school kid working now. There are restrictions on what they can and can't do. You know, we can't have them driving our vehicles. We don't have them doing a lot of work, but they can mow the lawn. But I don't know, you know, kids right now are involved in a lot of sports and a lot of other activities that they don't have the free time to go to work. And they weren't like me when I was growing up, where I needed the money to do what I wanted to do. Because my family didn't have the money to just put me in extracurricular activity.
Right.
You know, so,
Sports were 3 months out of the year, and that's it, the rest
Yeah.
of the 9 months of the year, you didn't play. I mean, way.
you know, my kids were in sports in high school, and it's like high school football starting now. You know, my daughter and son were both in swimming. They had summer swim camps. You know, it makes life challenging
Mhm.
to get it. I went to Marquette. I even posted jobs down there, you know, with the idea if somebody's going to Marquette and they're coming back for the home for the summer, they may not see the job, but come to work for us.
Mike, I mean, this isn't just a facilities issue, this is
Oh.
an issue for all, I mean, for all the departments. I mean, what you're describing is there isn't, or is an HR, you know, everybody works for Winnebago County, not just facilities department. What I'm hearing is that there really isn't a consistent policy among different departments about who gets, how they recruit people, use their resources together and best practices, instead of this department is doing X and this department is doing Y. That doesn't make any sense.
I would agree.
We're one group here.
But I would say, since I've been here with the county has worked on the whole idea of lean and lean management, lean staffing, and we've not really had a lot of excess staffing in any departments, and HR is one of them. Right now, they've got a bunch of stuff dropped that they need to do. You know, we've never had, I think we had 59 or 60 some vacancies. We've never had that many vacancies for the last year or two, as long as I've been here. If we had maybe 12, then we would end up having, you know, 15, 20 people applying for those jobs. Now we don't. And they've got finances lost a bunch of people. HR has some big projects dropped on them. You know, they've got the compensation study. Mike Ballard has been trying to fill 2 hats, and he's trying to stick with finance more because they've got less staffing. You know, it's just tough. You know, I wish we had more. You know, realistically, I've got 16 custodians. I probably should have 24, but there's no way I could sell to you guys. I need to hire 8 additional people on top of the 5. And it's, you know, at the meeting I was just at yesterday, Highways lost a mechanic and an equipment operator. They can't compete with Badger Federated that's offering people $90,000 to start. And I'm not a real proponent to say that money's going to solve everything. You know, some of these people who would leave us for a higher wage may be surprised when we get there that money doesn't buy happiness. You know, we've got a really nice work environment here. We've got great benefits. But if you're just looking at $90,000, it might sour in 6 months. But on the other hand, you know, when you look at a gallon of gas as being $5 and a loaf of bread being what it is, and eggs at $3 a dozen, not having the $90,000 to come home with you is a consideration too. So I agree with you. It's not just us. I think we probably need a little bit better policy on where it all gets advertised and who's responsible for that.
That should not be your responsibility to saying, hey, I need people for facilities, it's resources and, you know, on state unemployment, I mean, that's nothing that, you know, you could help. But man, oh man, I mean, especially now, we need a more concerted effort to recruit
Yeah.
and retain.
And I think we need to, I'm at that age, but we need to sell to the people what the value of a pension is. You know, that is one of the main reasons why I've stuck it out here so long. You know, once you get past 10 years, you kind of look at saying, huh, you know, I don't have a pension. But you know, it's a crazy world out there. It really is just crazy. And I don't know how we're going to fix it. I know I was in a meeting with the county executive, and he was just saying that there's been studies out there that it's going to be like 18 years before the birth rate catches up to what the baby boomers have done with retirements. So, you know, this is not going to be a short-term problem. It's going to be a long-term problem. And I don't know how we're going to entice people to do government work. And if you listen to the news, it's not always the best place to be in the government. You know, we've had some people that have really made being in the government maybe not quite as attractive as being in the private sector.
Well, these things should have been sent out like to the schools, the high schools and that. There's only so many in Winnebago County that have been sent out to them. And
I don't know if
some
they
of them
have
kids.
been. We've suggested it. I don't know if I feel comfortable just cold calling high schools,
I'm not saying you, just
No,
HR could have sent out.
but
a letter.
I know.
Help wanted.
Job
Yeah.
postings, I mean,
Right.
I mean, people have been dying to, you know, get a lawn cutting job at 16 with the county. I mean,
Yeah.
I would like to say that's still the case now, but I mean, yeah, at least putting a job posting up for the kids at the schools.
Yeah.
I know, like, I'm a snitch club committee member or whatever, I belong to that. And it took us 2 years to get somebody to do the field. And it's hard. You can't, I mean, it's a unique job because you really have to know how to groom a field and everything else. And plus you have to be trained, but it took us that long. And I mean, we're hoping to keep him if, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And just like we are getting older ourselves and that are running the EJ and the committee, we're not getting any younger either. So we're like in your position. So I can imagine that you do right now. I mean, is human resources, are they putting ads out too, or are they they're not working together on this? Huh?
I don't know. When we have an opening, I send down a position request, and then I kind of leave it up to HR to do whatever they do to try and get people in here. I know it goes out on our website. I know if I specifically ask them to put it someplace, like I asked our maintenance technician position to go out on the American Public Works site, they'll do it. I don't know where they all post it. But we go out and we look at Indeed and see if it's out there. We go out and we looked at, I hadn't thought about the state unemployment one because I thought that was a given. But Tony didn't see it there. So Tony took it on himself to load our stuff in there. I don't know where else they might advertise it at. You know, advertising in the Northwestern is pretty much useless. I don't know where else they posted trying to drum up people for us.
Motion orders, right? You see
Yeah.
the different departments, right? They have a.
Yeah.
And the bulletin board in there. It's
Well,
in the
and
past almost.
maybe Alyssa can answer, but I haven't heard anybody come in the last month or two asking about the jobs.
Maybe once every 2 weeks or so.
Okay. So, you know, our signs are kind of working. Hopefully they're sending in applications and they're, you know, helping somewhere in the county. I know one of my supervisors went out and got some additional signs to add to our signs to actually list the positions that we're looking for, to see if that will help. You know, there's word of mouth. You know, my people are telling their friends. We got one individual that way. But I don't know how many people are actually out there really looking for a job. You know, they talk about the unemployment rate being 3.9%, but I think after 20 weeks, if you don't have a job, you kind of just drop off that list.
That's right.
So, you know, I don't know. I just frustrated. We're trying to think of unique ways that we can get our word and our positions out there, and not just ours, I mean, county positions out there. And you know, I feel like, you know, a fisherman, I'm just hauling up empty nets.
When I retired, previous position, I had this plan I was going to do all these things, and then the company called me back and said, "Hey, so and so is having maternity leave. Would you come back for a few weeks?" Well, it became 6 weeks there, and I was doing that. I was getting a regular paycheck and everything for 6 weeks, and come the following February, March, I sat down in front of my accountant, a tax accountant, and he said, "What the heck are you doing? You just blew off all these benefits here you're getting from the federal government because of the income that I was now earning." And
Yeah, I think
it's going
it's
to take the state or somebody to change the tax law and say, "Okay, baby boomers, if you would like to come back to work, we're not going to take it against the money that you're getting."
I think I've looked at it.
He told me, "Don't ever do that again."
I
unless
think
there's some really good reason to.
I think until you're 70, I think you can only earn like $13,600 a year.
Yeah.
And then after 13.6, for every $2 you earn, you lose $1 of Social Security.
It was including my investments and
Yeah.
things were coming in, and yet I was there in a very short period of time. So don't ever do that again. No.
Yeah.
Until the tax laws are changed. Baby boomers left and there's nobody coming back.
Sure. All right. Report on department operations.
I sent you the list of my projects that we got going. We talked about the 980 units. I've been working with the county executive, and I think I mentioned at one time, we want to do a building assessment study of all of our buildings to determine where we stand on where they are in deferred maintenance. And his goal was to try and use ARPA funds for that. And I believe they'll be having an ARPA committee meeting here in the very near future to start setting up the rules and everything for the use of those funds.
There's no meeting set as of right now, I can tell
Right.
you.
So we've completed several of them so far this month. I know the airport windows have been awarded to Omni. I don't think they've started yet. Jason might be able to know.
We gotta truck those units across. They make them in like, I can't remember, California or Colorado.
Yeah, if that's still the case,
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know
Yeah, they're a special thermal pane window that they can't be exposed to great variations in pressure.
Well, they're made over there. They have special valves in there when they travel on the semi that the air get, it escapes. There's special valves in the units itself because they're made on the West Coast somewhere.
Interesting.
We've got the courthouse tuck pointing job is going on. They're still looking at being finished up by the end of July. We're working on the the training and storage building for Parkview. We've got some of the exterior walls up, and that is moving along on schedule. let's see. We're working on clerk of courts trying to, they want to get rid of some of their movable shelving in the basement and create some offices. So we're trying to come up with a project for that right now for them. That may end up being a capital project. We'll have to see what the costs are with that. The USDA lease is going before the county board next time to authorize that project so that I can go out for bids so that I can give bids to the USDA. We're replacing the carpet throughout our carpet project through the various facility buildings. The roof for Fairview Tower is, they've got the materials on order. They should be doing that here soon. I'm working with Highways for their office and shop modifications.
So anyway, that can be moved up, because now if you look up there, those of you that were on the tour was bad, but now if you look up there on the ceiling, it's all getting really black in one
Okay.
spot, so it's really.
We'll move that up.
I was talking to a county exec about that. And the office space itself, are you gonna try to add on to that? Or should you just tear the whole thing off and start over on it? And the office portion of it, you know what I mean?
Right now, the thoughts were just to add on, not to tear it all off.
Because, I mean, that would be one way to really get rid of the mold, you know,
Yeah.
start over on the office anyway. And then you have the repair section. If you got that truck wash area and move that somewhere else, you could open up that drive-through in there so you wouldn't have so much congestion.
Yeah. We haven't talked about that yet because that would just add on to the cost significantly.
Okay.
So I think we can mitigate the issues with the existing space.
Okay.
They were looking at expanding their boardroom area to the west. But we have to do some additional work there because their utilities run in underneath the ground there. And generally, they don't like to put your main sewer laterals and stuff under an addition. We are working, we had a demonstration for the glass replacement for the jail cells for the sheriff's project. And that is, they tried to break it and it didn't break, didn't even mar the glass or the plexiglass. So that was found to be acceptable. So they'll be ordering the material to finish out the rest of those. The evidence garage is going to come before you guys for an expanded capital project at the county board. It was approved at the P&F committee. That would be to add on the morgue. Let's see, I'm looking at some of the big ones. Those are pretty much all the big ones. The DA remodeling, you know, we're still waiting on some of the materials for that to come in before we start tearing up their offices. We've got the plans and everything for the mother's room. We should be going on that now.
Back on that morgue, will that come before us, the plans and everything, or?
I can bring it back before you.
I'm just asking.
Yeah. It's probably going to be looking just like the schematic that we showed you.
We just had a presentation on that. We never
Right.
approved that project. And so I kind of getting your, some of your sentiment too, that, you know, how do you decide which projects, you know, right, are coming before this committee?
Mhm.
I seen it at P&F too, so I was just wondering if it comes back before this committee now, or?
I'd have to look at the minutes. I think you all approved the budget transfer last time. Yeah. I guess I'll answer any questions that you might have in any of our projects. I don't want to bore you by going line by line.
I have one, Mike, I see the UW Fox City Science window repairs. I know they've got problems with those windows leaking and different stuff like that. Now they're gonna go ahead and it looks like pricing them out to replace them.
Yeah, they had some leaking and they just wanted to do some basic stuff and we had them do some forensic analysis. And it basically found that the windows were not installed really properly. So it'll be another project now for y'all to approve, which would probably be to replace all the windows on the science wing. And there's probably some other windows in the buildings that need to be replaced also.
Yes, we did see that when we were up on the tour,
Yeah.
and they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in that one science room, it was bad.
There's some electrical up at a window where there's condensation
Yeah.
draining into it off the sill.
Okay. I know when we looked at it, there wasn't any water damage or any evidence of water by the outlets.
Oh, okay. But
It was coming in through the wall underneath the windows. And that was our fear too, is that there was going to be a problem electrically. But when we did it last fall, that didn't seem to be the problem.
okay, I looked at it and that's the first thing I thought of was
Yeah.
that was gonna be an issue, but
And they were thinking it was condensation, but it wasn't condensation.
Okay.
It's a problem with the installation.
okay.
One more thing that'll be good,
Sure.
once, hopefully you get that approved, that not feasibility study, but the building,
For the,
what do you call that?
I don't know what you want to call it, the student, they're calling it the student center.
No, I'm talking about your whole countywide.
Oh,
building,
the building assessment.
Building assessment.
Yeah.
Because you have like an energy consultant come in and look at the different, here, there's water, there's air leaking here, there's a problem here. I mean,
Mhm.
you're a big proponent of you doing that. I think that's a great,
It's just looking for the funding. The initial proposal I got was like $250,000. So that is a big dollar ticket. And if we can get the ARPA funds to fund that, it will make it more swallowable than trying to fit it into our budget.
Yeah.
Now,
Isn't that project along with Allegheny County?
the building assessment one would be our own. Yeah, and I'll have to check to see exactly the scope on what, the county exec wants to look at.
The funding we approved for that student development center remodel was for the engineering study.
Right.
Yeah.
For the engineering work, yeah. And then so far our budget is looking okay. Generally, the last couple of years with the labor issues that we've had, labor's come in under budget the last 2-3 years. Utilities, I don't know what utilities are going to do to us this year. Originally, WPS was looking for a 7% increase next year. So I don't know, with the price of oil, the way it's going, usually the price of natural gas follows oil. So we could end up with some difficulty staying under budget this year. But what I end up having to do is, it's just operational costs get balanced out. So we may end up having to either come back to the county board for additional funds or defer some of the less or lower priority projects to make up for the excess cost of utilities.
Is there any thought about materials costs, maybe leveling out and coming back down?
In talking with my architect friends, their feelings are no, they're not going to come back down. They started coming down a little bit, but
I've been reading some stuff that says inventories were up post-COVID. And that would cause,
Yeah.
supply demand imbalance where the cost would have to come down.
I don't know. I don't know what inventories have been high because it's like everything that we need.
It's the
We
same
haven't
thing.
been getting.
It's the same thing with oil. They say they're pumping it like crazy, but prices are through the roof, so.
Well, one
how
of
do
the
you figure
things that nobody mentions is that 1 million barrels per day of refining capacity in the US has been permanently shut down,
Right.
That's right, that's right,
so
because we have enough oil to last us a very long
Yeah.
time in the United States of America.
And the last article I read yesterday, the day before, was rather than trying to update those refineries to the new environmental things, it's cheaper to ship the oil to China and Asia to refine and bring it back. So it's the indications I've got are that it will be quite a while before inventories get to the point where prices will come down. And feelings from the professionals are that they're probably not going to come back down to where they used to be.
All right. And number 9, suggestions for items for the next meeting agenda. We have 980.
And then by then we'll have more information on the hangars, so.
Let's do a hangar update. If there's an, I don't know, if there's,
Is there really anything that we,
The cost.
That would be between now and next month.
yeah,
4 weeks, it probably won't get out for bid.
okay, so it really wouldn't be
yeah.
necessary to hash over that.
The opinion of probable cost, you gotta wait for the bid before you can get that.
The opinion of probable cost is usually what the architects and the engineers will come up with, how they came up with the estimate. It's what we usually, there's usually like, in your specification books, there's all sections with like site work, mechanicals and everything down there. And they'll put out what they estimate per category to come up with the $4.3 million.
Brought it up a couple times, maybe the county executive would use ARPA funds for this. How about an agenda item, something of potential ARPA funded projects?
He hasn't even got his full committee appointed yet, so.
Yeah, well, Mike's obviously got some insight on that, or maybe you
Well,
have a.
We're supposed to be having one, but he don't have his
Yeah.
full committee appointed.
I just hear from one source, and I think you're the other source. So
What what could we use ARPA funds if we don't have any projects, but as far as different building projects, what could we use it on?
it's supposed to be used for infrastructure,
Okay.
and
A lot of that stuff is broad, a lot of.
Yeah.
things.
and I know Mike Collard is supposed to be letting everybody know what the rules are. So like right now, I don't know what the rules are.
I'll give you an example. Green Bay Visitors Convention Visitors Bureau, the state gave them $2.5 million of ARPA money to build that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, that if the state can give Green Bay money to build a tourism center, I think we could use that on different building projects,
Brand new
Yeah.
office space for your
right?
I would get.
Facilities building.
But
Concrete tilt up walls.
reality, a lot of times it's
No mold with that.
of getting I mean, we have $26 million in ARPA funds,
It's more than that.
more than that.
Yeah.
But you got another one, you got like Parks wants to build a new dam out in the Waukee area out there. That one's coming apart and they got their fire departments pump out there, so they want to do that. So there's lots of people are just waiting for all this money, so.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and as was mentioned,
So we wouldn't be the only county waiting for money.
No, this is the same county.
Yeah.
It's just, there's all kinds of these different committees that are waiting.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
yeah.
So,
So, it's like, if we can use that funding, I've got roofs that we can do, I've got a chiller that we need to replace. We've got the highway shop that we need to fix.
Really, that highway shop definitely is.
you can take all the money and you can go ahead and pay off some of your borrowing.
Yeah. Oh, you can use it for that?
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be.
That would make Mike happy, but
It's gonna be interesting how this all.
The other Mike, not
the other
this Mike.
Mike.
All right, anybody else, anything for the next meeting?
That airport resolution had underlined that the county, the money provided by the general fund would be reimbursed by bonding.
Mhm.
Is that normally what happens in that
That's
situation?
normally what happens because the county bonds once a year in September.
Okay,
So they'll borrow from the general fund to get the project going. And then they'll go out for the bond and then the money gets put back into whatever money was taken out of the general fund up to that point would get reimbursed by the bond. And then the bonding proceeds would then finish paying off the project.
I don't really understand the bonding process. Does somebody buy those bonds buy that bond?
Every year the finance department comes up with what we need to borrow for funding.
Okay.
And then it goes to Robert W. Baird and they put together a package.
Mhm.
And then it goes out, it gets advertised and financial institutions will submit proposals or bids for what they'll pay for our bonds.
Mhm.
And that, I think, is what determines what the interest rate was that we'll end up having to pay on the bonds.
What do they normally pay on those bonds? Do you know?
Pretty low right now,
Real
or
low, right.
up until now, it was pretty low.
Is it less than 1%?
I think it was like right around between 2 and
2%.
2.5%.
2.5?
Right. We usually have
Okay.
5 or 6 that'll bid on them. That's because we have real good rating.
Well, the return on the county portion of the funds for the airport hangars would be at 3.25 rents would be 2.5. That's not the yield, that's just the initial return. Yield might be a little higher. So,
50 years if you're around. I just thought I'd throw that.
no,
in.
go ahead. I mean, no, I won't be here. Well, unless things change from the way they work now.
It's changing fast, that's the problem. And the pricing is changing fast.
All right, next meeting date and time, I have July 13th at 9 a.m. So I have the 13th, second Wednesday. All right, with
We may have to relocate because they are trying to set up certain rooms that are better equipped for recording the proceedings. IS has been talking like if every department did it, it runs between $35,000 to $80,000 to set up the room. So rather than spending $35,000 for 17 different departments to have rooms, they may find certain rooms in the county and set them up and have them for Zoom.
That would work perfect. That's only making sense, because then you got one cost.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, motion's made to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
I
All right, we are adjourned.
Who made that motion?
I did.
Okay.
You going down